Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Sitting in the austere courtroom, listening to my wife's lawyer deliver his opening statement, I couldn't help but reflect on the whirlwind my life had become. One moment, I was a genuinely happy husband, and the next, I found myself cast as an unsuspecting fool in a dramatic play I had never auditioned for. "Get it together, Mr. Lewis," barked the Honorable Sir Robin Mitchell, the judge, whose stern expression matched the gravity of the situation. His sharp reprimand, directed at my wife's lawyer, Lewis, only reinforced my initial impression of him as an old, irritable man prone to theatrics. "The crux of the matter, Your Honor," stammered Lewis, visibly flustered, "is that if my client's husband, Adam Parker, had been more transparent with his wife, we wouldn't be in this courtroom today." "All right, counselor, but let's not stray from the issue at hand," the judge responded with a note of irritation. Lewis seized the opportunity to frame my wife's infidelity as a consequence of my alleged shortcomings. I dismissed him, my thoughts drifting back to that fateful day, the day that shattered my world. I had a series of meetings scheduled, but none seemed important in the shadow of what my boss was about to reveal. "Good God, Mike," he muttered, as I settled into the chair opposite him, his voice tinged with disappointment. "Are you blind? Do you really not see what's happening here?" I blinked, stunned by the intensity of his words. "What are you talking about, Richard?" I asked, surprised at how agitated my best friend was. The contrast between the chaos unfolding around us and the ground slipping out from under me was stark. "What have I done wrong?" I asked, a hint of trepidation creeping into my voice. "Not you," he growled, his frustration palpable. "It's your damn wife. She's at it again." My heart sank. Oh, great. "Who is it this time?" I groaned, already bracing myself. I didn't need him to explain everything. I could already feel the impending disaster. Richard had been my rock during the last betrayal, guiding me towards reconciliation with Jane while simultaneously keeping an eye on her scheming. It was clear he took this role more seriously than I did. "Bill Anderson," he said, dropping the name like a bomb. His tone was so emotionless that a chill ran down my spine. "Do you know him?" I asked, half serious. I nodded, recalling my encounters with that unbearable jerk at Jane's work parties. Tall, dark-haired, and far too smug for his own good. I had always thought Jane had better taste. It was already painful enough that she had broken our marital vows again, but with a loser like him. Richard leaned in closer, his expression serious. "Just don't do anything foolish, okay?" I knew he was right, but deep down, the urge to confront them both was growing, and it was hard to fight the rising wave of anger. This time, the drama didn't end with me throwing her out. I had plans, a strategy carefully nurtured deep within my mind. I wasn't in a hurry. Few knew how dangerous this situation could become. My client never shied away from admitting her mistakes. At that moment, Lewis' grumbling voice cut through my thoughts like a knife. "It's all about justification," he reminded me. "And who's really to blame here?" "Not me," I muttered under my breath, letting my thoughts drift back to recent events. I sat there, cloaked in shadow, waiting for Jane to return, fully aware that this time, there would be no covering it up. This time, she would face the same consequences as I had. "Hello, darling," Jane chirped as she entered the living room, her voice light and cheerful. "Why are you sitting here in the dark?" she asked, her smile fading as she noticed my mood. "I'm just waiting for you," I replied curtly, the coldness in my voice stopping her in her tracks. "What's the matter, dear?" she asked, her tone a mix of concern and confusion. I couldn't hold back. "What's the matter?" I snarled, my frustration boiling over. She lowered her gaze and the guilt became palpable, so strong that she didn't even try to deny it. "I'm sorry. I never meant for things to go this far. It was just harmless flirting and we both got carried away." The moment she spoke, I was pulled from my thoughts by the sound of a name being called out. It was time to step into the spotlight and present my case before the court. As I stepped forward, a wave of nervousness washed over me. The formalities of taking the oath felt almost surreal. And yet, Despite the solemnity of the moment, my thoughts drifted back to my last conversation with Jane. "I'm sorry, Mike," she had said when I fell silent in response to her previous attempt to calm me. "Of course it's over. Tomorrow morning I'll tell him at work." I couldn't help but chuckle in response, tightly gripping the piece of paper in my hand, my mind buzzing with what I was about to say. "It's not easy, is it, Mike?" Jane gently pressed, her voice a soothing balm against my anxiety. "We made it through last time. We can do it again." "Last time wasn't like this, Jane," I replied, my tone heavy with resignation. "Of course we can, darling," she countered, her smile bright but unconvincing. "I never had feelings for him. It was just physical. It meant nothing." "Unfortunately, this time it does mean something," I replied, setting the newspaper on the table between us, the tension thick in the air. "What?" she asked, looking at me with confusion. "I don't have my glasses," she admitted, squinting at the document. "No divorce? You must be joking." She didn't have time to finish before I interrupted her, my voice firm and insistent. "Medical certificate." Jane stared at the crumpled piece of paper lying in front of her, her brow furrowed in confusion. "What does this have to do with us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "AIDS!" I thundered, the word bursting out of me like a dam breaking. "Damn AIDS, HIV, whatever you want to call it. That's what it has to do with us." "Tell me, have you been tested?" my wife murmured, shock spreading across her face as she grasped the implications of my outburst. Her gaze dropped to the treacherous piece of paper still lying between us, like a snake poised to strike. "What do you think?" I shot back, frustration boiling over inside me. What else is there to discuss? Where is this all going? Jane didn't even bother to consider that I might be involved in this tangled scenario. She knew all too well that she was the only one playing dirty in our marriage, fully aware of the grim consequences this disease could bring. Realizing the gravity of the situation, she jumped up and bolted out the door, tires screeching on the pavement as she sped away, leaving only the echoes of her betrayal behind. "Mr. Jones, are you listening to me?" Mr. Lewis's voice snapped me back to the present, forcing me to confront the harsh reality of the moment. "Of course I'm listening," I replied, shaking my head to clear the chaotic thoughts swirling inside. "I apologize, Mr. Lewis." "Mr. Jones," he continued, "as we understand it, you discovered that your wife was having an affair behind your back." "Calling it an affair doesn't quite cover it," I mused absently, but one thing was undeniable. My wife had shared a bed with that despicable man. The sharp crack of the gavel echoed through the courtroom, silencing the room as the honorable judge reminded me to keep my comments appropriate. "As you wish," my wife's attorney responded, giving me a predatory look that sent a chill down my spine. "Surely you understand how devastating it must be for your wife to learn that she infected you with AIDS. You do realize she must be utterly devastated?" I nodded in agreement, knowing that denial would achieve nothing. In reality, that was the whole point, wasn't it? To provoke her so intensely that, driven by emotion, she would rush headlong toward the scoundrel who betrayed our vows. The thought of her charging at him, her fury turning her into a weapon on the street near his office, almost made me smirk. But then the courtroom erupted again, and through the chaos, the stern voice of the judge cut through, reining in my thoughts and reminding me to restrain my tongue. "Do you even care, Mr. Jones?" Lewis spat, his tone dripping with contempt. "Don't you care that because of your cold-bloodedness, someone will be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of their life?" My thoughts raced, and although my true feelings hovered just beneath the surface, I felt no remorse and was, in fact, quite pleased with how things had turned out. I knew better than to voice them. At that moment, the opposing counsel leaped to his feet, and an objection burst from his lips. "Objection sustained," the judge declared, striking his gavel once more. "I judge here, Mr. Lewis, not Mr. Jones." The weight of those words hung in the air, a reminder that the spotlight was on my wife, but lurking in its shadow were my unspoken truths. "No more questions," Lewis snapped, sinking back into his chair, realizing he'd get nothing more from me. Beside him, the prosecutor settled in, a nearly smug smile appearing on his face. Just one more question, Mr. Jones, he said, his tone oozing with feigned politeness. For the record, you're not HIV positive, are you? I certainly hope not, I replied, my voice bright and playful. He continued, Now, about that note that caused all this uproar. It seems Mrs. Jones never even saw it. Would you enlighten us about its contents? I couldn't help but smile, the corners of my mouth twitching with pleasure. Oh, it's nothing serious, I said, grinning broadly. Just a friendly reminder that I need to come in next month for a general health checkup. I didn't wait for the trial to end. Sitting in my favorite local pub, savoring a pint of the best bitter, I realized the verdict was unlikely to change my life. Whether she's ultimately found guilty of attempted murder means little to me. We're done. They won't pin an innocent lie on me. Jane deserved a harsh punishment. This was the second time in our 35-year marriage she had an affair, and that woman needed to be taught a lesson, and I'll peacefully enjoy my retirement. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.